We all want our breakdowns to hit the hardest. Breakdowns are a pivotal moment for any current metal track. The breakdown is the release of the tension that you have been carefully crafting with your nasty riffs. However, making the breakdown to be perceived as an adrenaline rush is not as easy as it may seem. In this video, let's explore some production ideas that would help you make the breakdowns really slap. So the breakdown without any production applied before. And now, with the production, after. Bloody hell, Dealer were amazing back in the day. Obviously, I took my freedom to experiment and put something into this breakdown which it was not supposed to be here, but I think that this is pretty cool. And so in this video, you will learn how to recreate such elements for your productions and more. Continue watching to learn how to create this. We will talk about dynamics, transitions, production approaches, and the songwriting itself as well. Hey, I'm Dr. Trubetskov, and I'm here to bring valuable information on recording, mixing, and producing metal. So, mate, please like and subscribe and share this video so that the value travels around. And I think it's time to pitch something really valuable to you guys. I'm grateful for all of you watching my videos, and I think that I could offer group coaching session in which we go together into your production, look into your challenges. I open these tracks up in the live setting together with you as a group and give you the best approach for resolving and improving on these challenges in a short time span. So, if you're interested, I will leave a link to express your interest in description. Cheers and let's go! If everything is loud in your production, then nothing is perceived as loud anymore because it simply becomes static. Contrast and dynamics create tension. Then you can release this tension with the heaviest breakdowns ever. You can build the anticipation with a fast-paced double-time groove in the section preceding the build, and then in the build itself, you can introduce some ambient pads or clean guitars, guitar lo-fi screams or tribal tom grooves, or basically everything that I mentioned here too. Volume automation, a crescendo, also goes a long way in order for the build to come through and for the breakdown to be perceived louder. If we focus on this actual build here, you can notice that indeed it does come from the double time and then it drops. I took my freedom and I've added this lo-fi guitar, which may not be the very best fit, but I wanted to illustrate this idea for you. And another thing that has been added is this dissonant, annoying synthesizer. And then the very important part about that synth is that it grows in volume. I've automated it so that it comes from quiet to loud, from back to front. It makes that spooked out effect and really disturbs your listener. If you want this patch, I will include it in the description as well. And a great additional way to crank that tension up to an extreme is to abruptly cut the reverb tails and leave a silent gap before entering that breakdown. I noticed this approach in a few current productions, Humanity's Last Breath, Spirit Box, And I believe that this works extremely well, so give it a try if you wish. Transitions also help you to build the anticipation, yet on a micro level. You can lift your transitions by introducing reverse snare bumps, verse cymbals, or using risers from commercial libraries as well. Obviously, a huge sub drop at the start of the breakdown shatters the earth, no doubt. However, you can go further than that and add some interesting impacts either instead of a sub drop or on top of it. You can distort this or limit the hell out of this so that they add higher saturate and actually sound good and audible on small phone speakers. We now come to probably the most anticipated part of this video, and that would be transitions, risers, and sub drops. So let's see exactly how you can lift up your game by introducing these elements. In here, I've added a snare bomb and I reversed it. So the actual snare bomb would sound like this. Nothing over the top with this specific snare bomb. We have some samples. You can use any which have a bit of a ring. You can press them hard. You add sustain with the transient designer, and you use some reverb, like a hole, very long hole, and you basically keep it wet or almost fully wet, and further compress it. This creates an explosive sort of sound. But then what you can do is you can print this and then reverse it. In Reaper, if you go under Item Properties, there's a checkbox here, Reverse. So you can basically print this whole lot and reverse it and then cut it to achieve this kind of tone. That's your reverse snare. You can do the very same thing with your reverse cymbals, and you can actually do the same thing with your sub drops as well. The important thing about processing those elements is you want them distorted to death. You want to smash them hell sick, because that allows those sub drops to achieve more mid-range harmonics, and therefore that would be more audible on small speakers like your phones. So if we listen to the synth bass here, you can see that I smashed an L1 basically to its max. If I disable this, there's no more distortion. This is a little bit exaggerated and over the top, but I think you get the gist of what this is doing and why. Finally, I wanted to show you some unusual risers that I have applied here. And these are the Damage 2 library, sounding like this. In the mix. You can experiment with any commercial libraries or even go to freesound.org and find some risers, which would be free, and that could give you a possibility to experiment with a different flavor. Some of those risers sound futuristic, some sound tribally, and anything in between. So your imagination is your limit here. Experiment with cool stuff. And you can also reverse whatever you want. You can apply lots of reverb on your vocal scream, print it and reverse it as well. That's a riser. You can do the very same thing with a lo-fi guitar or guitar lead or anything that comes to your mind. So creativity is key here. For production approaches, in the breakdown, you can also introduce an ambient pad or a lo-fi guitar. If the rhythm and the perceived effects of this keep the listener engaged, that's a great way to add a two-tiered atmosphere and create some unique feeling in that breakdown section as well. This is the breakdown pad that I have introduced. This preset I will also include in this video. To creating such pads is very simple. You just use a lot of sustain, a lot of decay, lots of reverb, and some grit in front of it, so some distortion for those tones. And then for the part itself, you can try dissonance, including drones, root nodes or harmonies or something more sophisticated too. You can also add quads for your guitar chucks so that these really pop. You can experiment with different tones for quads, different amps, different amp seams, and yet another advantage of having the quads blended lower than the main guitars in the mix is that the volume of those guitar tracks grows and becomes louder, and then if you have a bass compressor on guitar bass, this one is being smashed some more and it pumps and creates thicker guitar tone in the breakdown. Now let's see what the quads do, and I've specifically engaged a different tone, different amp seam here. This sounds like this. Smashed. Because I wanted them to pump a lot. Without distressor, no pumping. In the mix, they're much darker. Without. They just add more body and that pump, and they fill in the lower mids in a good way. Off note, this has to be incredibly tight, and you need to spend the time recording this tightly and or editing as well in the mix. So without the quads first. Let's play them back. I think that this would be a good point to conclude this video. I hope that I was able to show you how to spice up your breakdowns and inspire you for some experimentation and creativity next time you write something cool. If you need my advice for your music, your productions, and help to resolve your challenges, expression of interest for coaching sessions on Zoom in description, please go for it. And until next time, take care. Thank you so much for watching. Always here to help. Cheers.